I'm Nick Clark. This is the Firm's Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Listen, welcome back to another episode of the Firm Podcast, man. We're so happy to have the support. So happy to have you back with us for another episode, man. Believe it or not, we're already at number 5, right? And so we got a really great show lined up for you today, man. I'm Charles. My guy Nick is in the building. I'm gonna let Nick go ahead and introduce our guest.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Today, man, we have a phenomenal guest, a gentleman that I had the pleasure of knowing for, I think, roughly at least about 10 years now. Someone who's very passionate about his community, just loves to help any way possible, individual who just goes above and beyond. Most important, I think the thing I've just loved about Bobby is that he's just a community person. He will give you anything he has, off the shirt off his back. He'll help anyone in need. But the gentleman I have next to me is our guest today is Mr. Bobby Frazier.
How y'all doing today, guys? Thank you guys for having me on the podcast today. Just wanted to say I'm Bobby Frazier, born and raised in Atlanta, but mostly Decatur. So I'm glad to be on the show with the firm today, guys. So we're gonna have a great show today.
Absolutely, man. And we glad to have you. Nick told me, we started talking about the topic. Nick was like, man, I know who need to do this. I know who we got for this one. And so, listen, without further ado, so we're going to get into this space of forgiveness, man. So we always try to aim on the show to talk about the topics we don't really hit, right? We try to get into the spaces that we don't speak enough about. 1 is men, 2 is black men, but 3 just as adults in general. We don't talk about forgiveness enough, right? And so you got a powerful story behind yours. And so I'm going to just jump out there before we get started. Just why is forgiveness so important and yet such a hard thing to do?
I think one thing that, for me, that I've learned, and especially with forgiveness, is that it's a twofold thing. 1 is forgiving yourself, and 2 is honoring the person or releasing the person that upsets you. Because it's not just about that person. Once you release them, now it's an opportunity for you to grow in terms of understanding, okay, so this person may have did this and this, but at the same time, it's how could I learn from that instead of holding the grudge? Because when you hold the grudge, it's kind of weighing you down. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so with releasing that person, that's part 1. And then number 2, it's also in so many ways forgiving yourself that you held on that long. And so that's what forgiveness kind of plays a role, or how I look at it when I look at things that have happened in the past with me.
Right.
Now, let me ask you this, but what do you think, and I guess we'll all answer our part from how forgiveness is done for us, but what is the hardest part of forgiveness, you think?
It's believing that something happened to you that you could have controlled. Because you got to think in terms of, we always want control of certain things, right?
Yeah.
And so you're saying to yourself, well, how did I let such and such do this when I knew this? So the forgiving is really most of the time about yourself in terms of you releasing control and letting it be something that happened and forgiving yourself that it happened the way you didn't want it to happen. So many words.
Yeah.
Wow. So, but what about you with forgiveness? Why you think it's like so hard and wasn't the importance of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to that same point, I think we were all, and I think this is most people, right? So we learned something as basic as if somebody hit you, hit them back. Even in that basic principle, it's basically if somebody does something to me, I got to get them back. And so now you telling me, okay, don't even worry about what they did to you. No matter how big it is, how small it is, don't worry about what they did to you. Forgive them. It's going to feel better for you. That sounds good. But until you can, you can walk me through it and show me or take me through the steps, I'm not really trying to hear that. You know what I mean? And so I think for me, that's the biggest thing, is getting past what you were taught, getting past what you know. They did something to me, I got to handle that.
I just think with forgiveness, though, it's so hard because, like you say, it's inside of you, but then too, it kind of becomes controlling. And I think the hardest part of it is just like releasing it. But you know you need to, but it's hard.
Yeah.
And that's just about it's something you know I need to do it, but how do I do it? And I think for me, forgiveness is just like releasing that weight, bro. Because you have this weight on you and you just carry it for so long and so long. It's like it's just baggage. And I think with me, I know I've had experiences where I just had to release it because after I released it, I just felt free. I finally felt like, hey, the weight of this world has just come off my shoulders, man. I know for me even, and we've touched on several episodes, just forgiving my father for things that may have happened prior. And forgiving him for things that I had I'm gonna say you had, I'm gonna say hatred for lack of better words, because you just didn't know. And sometimes as you get older, you talk to them, you chop it up, and you really understand things. You're like, wow, bro, I'm hating you or having this feeling about this when I ain't never even talked to you about this. You know what I'm saying? So I think just opening up that to understand, because sometimes we have hatred for people or some type of, I'm gonna say some baggage for things that we don't even understand. If you clearly understand, you be like, wow, okay, I understand why it's this way now, why things were done this way. But the importance of it for me was just to free myself, man, and get into a better space. Because everything does happen for a reason. You know?
I will agree. Yeah.
Now, Bobby, going into forgiveness, I know we just kind of jumped into a little fatherhood piece. I know I just touched on that, segueing into this. When I met you, one of the first things you often talked about, bro, was always the importance of this, I'm gonna say this symbol called the white couch. Tell us a little bit of the backstory of the importance of this white couch and the relevance of that.
Okay, so with the white couch, it's a way of where I was going in terms of what I needed to do, right? So it was this couch that I know that a lot of us in our community won't go to. And it was something that I had to do. Like my shirt says, I'm a black man that goes to therapy. And so it's always taboo in our neighborhoods. And so I had some baggage that I had to let go of, and I didn't understand why I had to let it go, and I didn't understand the damage that it was doing. And so I used to be in behavior, aid, and I used to always see just white people going to this couch. And I'm like, why are they always going to the couch? Are they just that weak? And so one of the therapists saw something on me, and I just, ignored it in the beginning. But as I started to look and realize some of the things that were going on in my life, like I was the type of dude when I was growing up that I didn't have a father, so I didn't have kind of the direction of where I needed to go or a man figure.
Right.
And my mom had to raise 4 kids. And out of the 4 kids, I was the baddest one. Like I was the one that was always giving her troubles. And so my mom, back then in the 70s, early 80s, you get a whooping. And so, I used to have this anger for not having a father because all the other kids had a father. But I never could express that to my mama because I never wanted anybody else to be with her. But I could never express that. So every time I did something wrong, I got a whooping for it. And so in my mind, okay, so my mom is whooping me. I can't get an outlet. So my outlet was going to be, if I saw Nick and Nick said something to me in school, Nick's got to get this.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do it to my mama, so I got to give it to Nick.
Yeah.
And so it got to the point where I used to go to school and just, be a bully. And so as I was growing older, I started realizing my anger, I just couldn't control it. And so like I told you, one of the ladies suggested, you need to just go to therapy and try this couch.
Yeah.
And so I used to always say it was white because white was always affiliated with pure. Like I just gotta let my pure feelings out and I gotta get it out. And so once I started going to the couch and releasing it, I saw some things that was hindering my growth as a man and as a father and as a husband. And one of the things she said was, she was like, well, wait a minute, we gotta go back to the early stages of life. And I'm like, look, I'm almost 50, why are we going way? She said, because we gotta find out where the issue is. It just didn't start. And it was the accumulation of me not having a father. And so me not having a father, I had to release all that and forgive myself. But then I had to also think about, okay, now here go the relationship with me and my mama. It's tainted because I'm angry at her for giving me the whoopings. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm going out and doing things that I didn't understand why. I knew why in terms of, I'm gonna beat you up, but I never knew it was because, wait a minute, your mother was the real one that you were angry at, not the father, because I never had that experience. So the experience was being mad at my mother. So when I went to the couch and found that out, I got to release my anger that I had for not having a father, and I got to release the anger that I got for her. Because you got to remember, at this age that I'm at now, me and my mom is just able to start talking. And so that's where that forgiveness and that release come in. But had I never went to the couch, it probably wouldn't have changed.
So, only reason I hear you saying about, the kind of giving us those time references in life. I don't want to ask you your age, right? But at what point was it in life when you already a husband, already a father, when you decided to do therapy?
This was recently, a couple of years ago. Because so one of the things I was doing was masking a lot of stuff.
Okay.
And so my wife and I had this conversation, and we just had to go and get some help. And it ended up me being the person that needed the most help. Because you got to realize, and I always tell people this too, like my wife grew up seeing two married people. They're like married still to this day. I don't get that. You see what I'm saying? So with all the anger and all this other stuff that I had to go through, it's still in there. And it's gonna ruin this marriage if we don't say, wait a minute, I gotta go find some help.
Yeah.
And so again, somebody suggested marriage counseling, and I'm thinking, no, that means you're a failure.
Yeah.
In marriage, you a failure. We're not doing. And so the point that I got to was, wait a minute, you're gonna ruin this, man. So you're gonna have to either go to that white couch, or you're gonna have to be by yourself. And for me as a father, I'm not having anybody raise my children. So that's when it came. It's about 2 years ago, and I'm still doing the therapy, still talking through some issues, because it's never going to end until we just release all of it. And so that's what I've been doing.
And see, that's powerful within itself, because it's the ability just to go in there and just address that you have a problem, go ahead and I guess attack it head on. Because even so, I know we were talking prior to recording, like in our community, it's so taboo for you to even go to a therapist, because like, man, this is for crazy people. Who goes and do that? But it's like, even again, as we were talking, we have so much pent up anger and frustration inside of us that we never get a chance to get out. And the majority of the time when it comes out in a negative fashion, and it costs us everything. You know what I'm saying? Because we just have been, it's been caged up, and now we want to just let it out, and somebody reaps. I ain't gonna say reaps the benefits of it, because it's not a benefit, but it's the bad end of that stick. You know what I'm saying? And that could be an ass whooping. That could be somebody getting cursed out. It could be so many things. But let me ask you this. At what point did you find the strength to do it? Because I know that probably was a battle within self too. I know you talked about it being a failure in your marriage sense, but
I think one of the things is just because at the point where I could say I got an issue and I really need that kind of person to talk. Because in the marriage counseling, we're going through counseling, and at the beginning I'm thinking, it's always on me. Why y'all always? And then I had to think about, like, wait a minute. If it's always you, or if you always saying it's you, or if it's always hey man, just face it and say, look, let me see what y'all see, because I can't see it. And so when Dr. Collins, shout out to Dr. Collins, but when Dr. Collins said, hey, Bobby, these are some things I want you to write down. I want you to write these down, and then when you answer them, I need you to answer them honestly. So as I'm sending them to her, it occurred to me like, dang, maybe it is you. Just listen for a second. And so as I started listening to her kind of tell me, well, this is what this means. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I always thought it meant this. So if I said something that I really mean, but I say it in a way that I would say it to somebody in the streets, it meant something totally different when I say it to my wife. And so the conversations would turn left quick, because it's what I'm used to. You get what I'm saying? It's what I'm saying. So I'm used to saying to Nick this certain thing, but I can't come in his house and say that.
Understood.
Because if I say it that way, she took it that way, that it really didn't mean that way, because I'm used to saying it to him. So the problem was trying to differentiate, wait a minute, it's an issue that when you angry, you just can't yell and think she gonna just walk away and be cool with that. And so because I'm used to doing that with people, like, oh, you'll get out your feelings later, and then we'll have. So I'm used to doing that. And so that first time it happened, after therapy, I realized, like, wait a minute, I do got a problem. I got an anger issue, but I'm angry at the wrong person.
Right.
And so that person that I should have been angry at, or that person that I should address, was me. Like, hey man, you gotta address you first. And then when you address you, it'll fall into place. Because I can't deal with how Chuck feel if, you know what I'm saying? If it's certain things that's happening. I can't deal with that. Only thing I can deal with is how I feel. And so that's when I started learning that. This is about 2 years ago.
Man, so when you looked at, you said you were masking so many things, right? And you were faced with the realities of, I may have said this, but this is what I meant. Can you look back and think about some relationships that probably, and not even from a relationship standpoint, like, because I know you're a married man, so we ain't trying to start nothing in that. I'm talking about
Charles,
you know what I'm saying? I had a homeboy, I had a friend, I had a cousin. Do you think about some relationships that might have gone differently?
Yeah, that might have gone differently.
Had you understood the power of forgiveness? Yeah,
if I understood that, like, and I can say this, like, for me, there's a certain person that I have forgiven. I just don't feel like I need that in my space. So we got to understand too now, forgiveness means I've forgiven you. I don't want no ill will towards you, but I just can't be around you because we're not going in the same place at the same time, and I can't have your energy. So there's been a lot of that. I even have friends that I used to have from elementary until probably about maybe 3-4 years ago that said I just can't do this.
Yeah.
You know, and the conversation started with understanding, wait a minute, man, okay, it's me, right? But at the same time, once I get me together, the stuff you doing, I've said some things, it don't work for this right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I've said some things, I'm sorry about that, but even after I done said that, and I'm going in this, we can't go the same direction, because I know it's gonna cause more of me saying some stuff, and eventually we gonna have to clash.
See, that's crazy because I tell people all the time, I have people in my life, bro, I love them dearly. But I can't do it.
You can't do it.
I just can't do it. You know what I'm saying? It ain't nothing against them. It's just like, I just can't do it. I love them dearly. You know what I'm saying? And that's the crazy thing about you. Like, man, I love this person. But I just can't do it. I forgive you. Yeah. But I can't really rock with you no more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I've lost some really great relationships in my life, man, like that. And I think sometimes I regret it, but sometimes I be like, man, that was how God meant for it to happen. You know?
That's right. In the spirit of total transparency, and the reason I asked you that is because I'm gonna flip it on this side. I got to a place, and it was more recently, 2 years ago, where somebody was just, somebody's really explaining to me the power of forgiveness and what forgiveness is for. You know what I mean? And I realized that one of my friends moved on. One of my good friends, like we was through school, you know what I'm saying? We held each other down no matter what. But he had to make a move in his life because of how I was operating based on what I thought manhood was. You see what I'm saying? So I just, in the spirit of transparency, I'm gonna put myself on the other side. There's some people we separated, but there was somebody who I know our ways had to part because of what I didn't understand. The beautiful thing about it is I understand that everything happens for a reason, right? So we all had to get to our levels with or without whoever was there because that's how we had got to that level. So it ain't no love lost, it ain't nothing I feel I missed out on, but I understand that it was necessary that we part ways because I didn't fully understand forgiveness. And sometimes you think forgiveness like, man, you know what, man, I shouldn't have did what I did to you. Now, sometimes forgiveness can be, you gave me your dream, you spoke your dream in the air, and I put something on, nah, man, you can't do that. You can't make $1 million in a year.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You might have to come and forgive me for that because I put negative thoughts in your mind. It's so crazy.
Yep.
It's so crazy.
But we don't think we even think about that though, bro.
No.
We definitely don't think about that, bro. And I think sometimes as men, we don't even, and that's why I was gonna say, like, as a man, when you're being weak is when you're really being strong. We don't even understand how to forgive somebody. Or just how to even say, bro, I'm sorry, I messed up or something like that. We'll walk around and won't even address that anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because we feel like, man, I ain't supposed to be that no punk. I ain't supposed to tell him I'm sorry. I ain't supposed to say
I ain't did nothing to him.
I ain't did nothing to him. His feelings, you know? And we don't do that to where it's like, bro, hey man, we got a really good friendship, bro. I'm sorry I did this.
That's right.
And it might fix it, it may not fix it, but at least as a man, I've said my piece, and I'm at peace with it because I've addressed it to say, hey, this is why I messed up. This is why I went wrong. How can I fix it? If I can, cool. If I can't, but I just want to let you know that. You know, I think we have to get to that place about forgiveness, man.
And I think that's where the therapy helped a lot with understanding, like, I can't control how somebody else feels. But I gotta number one, address it. I gotta number two, forgive myself. And if the person that I've hurt forgive me, fine. If they don't, fine. But I have to address it to the point where I'm going to be okay, and I can now not compartmentalize the feelings. I can now go on, this is the honest me and the true me. I don't have to, wait a minute, I gotta be this way around Nick. Wait a minute, I gotta be this way around Chuck. I can honestly say that now these feelings that I have, I'm gonna let them out and they're gonna be true. But it started with forgiving me. So when you forgive yourself, it's like, oh man, I don't really have to act this way around such and such. I'm good with me now. And that's what I've learned. Like, I gotta be good with me. So when people say certain things like, I'm good with me now, because I know how to forgive me. And if I know how to forgive me, I can move on without you saying, oh, I ain't your friend no more, I don't wanna be. That's fine. I'm good with me.
You hit on you hit on one for me right there. That's one. Go ahead, nigga.
No, go ahead, bro. You good, bro.
You hit on one right there for me because in the forgiveness piece, sometimes people don't like to hear this, right? But in order for me to forgive you, I gotta first forgive me. You see what I'm saying? I gotta realize that I messed up, but I can't hold myself guilty forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if until I'm able to forgive me, I can't really forgive you. Because imagine, like, let me just speak for me for a second. I'm gonna speak from my personal perspective. You walk around feeling like you screwed it up. It's hard to give a pass to somebody else. You don't want to give nobody else a pass because you feeling like, I bombed this one. But when you get to that real place to say, you know what, okay, Charles, you messed up. Go ahead and move past it. Go ahead and figure out how to start picking these pieces back up. Then you start applying empathy to everybody else. I can forgive you. That's cool, bro. He did the best he know how.
Yep.
Brother, that's all. Brother cool.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But it's like you said, I think, and then me and you talked about it a couple times, bro.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things with forgiveness is we cast our expectations on others. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem. Like we expect sometimes, hey man, all Bobby can give me is this.
Yep.
But I'm expecting Bobby to give me I'm gonna scale a scale of 1 to 10. Bobby can only give me a 5. That's the best Bobby can give me.
Yeah.
But I'm mad at him because he can't give me a 10.
But I gotta
He's
take
not
that.
a 10. He's a 5. And I have to go,
Exactly.
hey, Bobby's a 5. How can I make the best out of this 5? He's giving me everything he has.
Yeah.
But we'll walk around and be mad with you because I want you to be something that you're not.
Yep.
And I think that's a lot of times even when we talk about this fatherhood journey, a lot of brothers you harbor hatred because a lot of my friends they harbor hatred for their fathers, uncles, or men in their lives because you have the expectations. But sometimes your dad or whoever, he didn't know how to love you.
Exactly.
He don't know how to tell you I love you because even like we talked about it before. And I think Denzel's movie Fences portrays this the best. That's an old school man. Why I get up and I go to work, I pay the bills, I feed you. I love you. They ain't showing you I love you. I don't know how else to show you. But we're sometimes bothered because I ain't getting that hug. He ain't at my game. He ain't telling me I love you. You know what I'm saying? And I just think for me, I think that's one of the biggest problems too. Sometimes we cast our expectations again on others. Now I don't know how you brothers feel about that, but if y'all want to speak to that one.
I think one of the things, again, like I said, that's some of the stuff that I've learned. Like, the expectations are so high to the point you like, man, they let me down, right? And so I look at it like this, right? So think about the story of Joseph when we're talking about, we can biblically think about it. Someone who was given a promise, right? But he didn't see the promise in being put into slavery. He didn't see the promise of being accused of trying to rape somebody's wife. He didn't see the promise of being put back in prison. He didn't see the promise until the baker remembered who he was to say, hey, I got this guy who can tell you about this stuff, right? He didn't see none of that promise. But all the while he was in the pit, he never casted his expectation on anybody else. I don't see the promise in this, right? And I don't see the expectations that I'm gonna put on anybody else. I'm just gonna do it the way I know how to do it so that when it's my time, I'll never get to say, or nobody will never get to say, he put too much on me, and I'll never get to say, oh, I didn't do enough. And watch this. Remember, in the end, what did he have to do to his brothers? He had to forgive them. And guess what he said? This is what I've learned. That stuff I went through, you were supposed to put me there. In order for me to be right here, to forgive you for what you did.
Man, listen, so that what you just said though, you know how long, there are people to this day, there are people that go to their graves, there are old people that don't understand that I went through this for a purpose and a reason. You know how many people walk around saying, oh man, why me? Oh, here we go again, it's me again, you know what I mean? And so we have to get to be able to just get through that, to get to that place to say, you know what, this is for me, right? This is for me in particular. But then when it comes to casting your expectations on people, I look at it from the standpoint of, again, it's another level of like a breakthrough, like an enlightenment almost. Like somebody got to give you game on life. When somebody really give you game on life, they tell you, like you just said, that's all that brother had. You know what I'm saying? You want that brother to be solid with you the way you solid with people, but that ain't in his makeup. It's no requirement in life that these people treat you the way you treat them. Now, what is a requirement is that you're going to get back, you know what I'm saying, whatever you put out. But you can't walk around, man, I'm 10 toes down, I'm loyal to everybody, and then expect that from every single person, right? All you can expect is, hey, I'm going to put this out here, And when it comes back, I can live and die with it. It's cool. You know what I mean? I learn to live with it. So then casting your expectations, it goes both ways. You can expect people to be solid with you, or you can be out, you know what I mean? Disgruntled about the world. You know, man, listen, man, bump them. My daddy wasn't there. My mama beat me all the time, so guess what? When I see you, I want it. If you blink the wrong at me the wrong way, it's a problem.
Yep.
And I think I had to learn in my, I'm gonna say late 20s, not to cast my expectations on people. Because I just did, bro. If I felt like if I was solid with you, why ain't you solid with me?
Yeah.
But sometimes I had to understand too, everybody ain't built like you built, and everybody ain't been through what you've been through. So they are who they are. You know what I'm saying? Because the bad thing about casting your expectation on somebody is, you don't want nobody to cast their expectations on you. Because they don't really know. You know what I'm saying? You learn that your expectations of someone should be created on what they do. You know, I expect more Charles because I've seen Charles give me more. You know, it's like, I'm gonna use sports analogies. You wasn't expecting the same thing from Stacey King that you were expecting from Michael Jordan.
That's what
You know what I'm saying? You knew, hey man, Michael was my dog. And Stacey give me 10 points. Oh man, we good tonight. You know what I'm saying? We good tonight. So it's like I had to look at like that type of thing with life. My expectations are built by what I see you give me. So as you give me more, I expect more because I've seen you do more. And that's why I even same thing with my children. I see them do certain things, so I'm expecting you to get all A's. I've seen it, so I ain't selling for this seat. Because you done gave me these A's, you done set this standard. Now we
you
gotta
gotta
keep
keep
this standard.
yeah,
So
you gotta keep it
we
going.
got to keep it going that way, bro.
And I think one of the things, you know, again, is that I look at it from this standpoint of being a coach, right? I know that the blueprint is there. We set the blueprint. And in the beginning of the coaching career, I would always get mad, like, you're not doing such and such, such and such, such and such. And so I was coaching against one of my friends one day. And he came up to me after the game and said, you were so into running a certain play that you didn't see how your kids could adjust off of me just moving one player and not moving that player anymore. And I thought about it and was like, wait a minute. My expectation was for them just to keep running the play, even if they knew what the play were. And I'm talking about the other team. Even if they knew I still need you to run that play. And so I was going to run them to death in practice until he told me that. And then I thought about like, wait a minute. It goes back to this forgiveness. I got to forgive them for trying to please me so much when they should have done what they knew to do. Because we are taught, if they know the play, here's option B. But because I was so into the expectation of just run it, they couldn't even think out of themselves. So I had to do the same thing that I would do now. I had to tell them, okay, y'all, I messed that one up. I messed that one up. We lost by 2 points because I did this. I messed that one up. And once I started learning to trust the process, right? Trusting this process of like, wait a minute. I've taught them all I could teach them. Now it's up to them.
It's game time.
Exactly, to go out and execute, but with the same execution I would expect if I was to say, wait a minute, hey y'all, look at the adjustment. What do we do? So at the end of the day, learning how to, number one, not put those expectations on people, but learning, number two, instilling in the topic, learning, number two, forgive myself, but also let them know I forgive y'all because y'all didn't go outside of what I said. And as a player, sometimes you should have said, or even as friends, sometimes you should have said, wait a minute, coach, this ain't working. I got to go away from that.
Yeah.
Even if you're mad at me. Chuck, I know me and you've been friends for a long time, but I got to go away from that, man.
Yeah.
And you got to forgive yourself because I don't already forgive me. That's why I'm walking away. And so that's how I looked at it when I do certain things. Now it's like, okay, I just got to walk away from that. And I got to forgive me in order for you to forgive yourself. Now, I can't tell you how to forgive yourself, but I know how to forgive me.
So I'm curious because, you know, we talked about what you do, your everyday work. How has you been able to go to that couch and deal with your honest feelings? How has that allowed you to help mentor and change the way you engage with the young people you deal with?
Man, that's a good one. It's just like that word we just talked about, empathy. I deal with kids every day, man, and we have so many things and facets that come into play, right? And so I was given a session, a tutorial session, and one of the young ladies was like, Mr. Frazier, can you be like that every day in class? And I said, what do you mean? She said, because in class, you're mean and you're strict and you got these such. And I said, whoa, to come to think of it, if I change it, and I tell them, hey, I'm gonna change it because I need to change it for you, and because I need to see it from your point of view, we'll get better results. Man, when I tell you changing it, seeing it from their point of view, and having that empathy, I always tell kids I want to see growth. I never care about grades because grades are something that somebody just made up in order for us to put people in certain categories. But I've seen the growth, and I remind them that every day. And so learning to forgive how I used to do it to where I'm at now has helped the class grow. Because like I said, the young lady was like, oh, we need that every day. And so giving it to them every day now, I've learned by sitting on that couch, wait a minute, sometimes your way ain't always the right way. And if you can allow for this, I always apply this scripture. The measure that you give out is coming back the same measure. Yeah. If I give Nick 900 lashes, at some point, them 900 lashes coming back. It ain't got to come back in lashes, but it's coming back in that process or in that sternness. And so when I started, applying empathy and learning how to, wait a minute, see it from their perspective. And if I see it from their perspective, I get it. I was mean, but I wasn't doing it maliciously. I was doing it so that they can get the point of there's a process.
Understood.
But understanding and being empathetic and saying, well, wait a minute, if I give it to you this way, the process still can be given. It's just now I don't have to be and now the growth is coming. They love coming to class. So it's that her teaching me be empathetic, her telling me, Frazier, sometimes you just gotta sit back and watch.
Yeah.
Cause you may, force a situation and now you gotta go say, I'm sorry. Like I had to say.
Yeah.
Because I was forcing the situation. And no, we gotta do it this way because no, let's just sit back and watch for a second. And then I can say, oh, I get what you're going through. Cause I had a individual a couple of years ago when we started this computer giving thing to students. The baby didn't have Wi-Fi. And so I'm just stern. And I had to apologize like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. But the baby wasn't gonna tell me. It took the mama to say, listen, Mr. Frazier, such and such. So it kind of, now I gotta go back and say, golly, I'm sorry. Yeah. And I didn't remember, part of my story was, we didn't have a whole bunch of money. I was probably one of the few friends I was probably one of the ones out of my whole friends that didn't have a family car. Like I had to, when we went to get groceries, so that was another part of the anger. So I had to go back and see how that was. Like, wait a minute, you remember when you didn't have no car?
Yeah.
So you gotta take in consideration all those things. And so it's just having that empathy to say, wait a minute, let me look at it from their perspective. And so that couch helps me do that because at the end of the day, I still can go crazy.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where I don't wanna forgive you because no. And I gotta go back and think like, wait a minute. It says we have to forgive for us. It ain't really got nothing to do with them. Cause they gonna be who they gonna be anyway.
Yeah.
Man.
They gonna be who they gonna be.
I mean, but see, we talk about again that forgiveness is a hard battle, bro. It's a hard battle, man. Cause I think, and we just said again in the beginning, we battle within ourselves. So. Like, how do we forgive you? How do I let that go? Like, am I less of a man if I forgive you?
You know what's so funny though? So I was talking to a friend the other day, and we were talking about and this will go with the story. We were talking about neighborhoods, right? And so we were talking about certain neighborhoods. So I'm from a neighborhood that, let's just say we have 75, maybe 100 people, men. And then we got another neighborhood that has 200. And then we got another neighborhood that's 300, right? We'll go to battle with the 200 before we go to battle with the 300. And so he was like, well, why is that? I said, because at the end of the day, I knew some of the guys at the 300, right? I knew a lot of those guys. So I said the thing that we got to do, if we're going to do that, we got to be diplomatic. And that's going to go with so we're diplomatic in saying, hey, y'all, we messed that up. Our fault. How y'all want to do that? We messed it up. right?
Right.
So we forgiving or asking for forgiveness and understanding. If we don't ask for forgiveness, or if we don't come to some kind of
Yeah. 300 gonna wipe out.
300 gonna wipe out 75.
Yeah.
Easy. The 200, they might got a chance, but we know some of them ain't,
Yeah.
And we still say to them, hey y'all, we need to sit down at the table because we need this. So it's learning how to forgive in the constraint or confines of saying, wait a minute, we all want to walk away from this healthy. So I never want to go into a situation where I got to say, wait a minute, if I don't forgive or if they don't forgive, there's something else that can happen. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I put it in neighborhood sense because all of us is from a certain neighborhood. And for us, it was almost in a sense like I had to play diplomat at that point because it's like, wait a minute, I know some of them. So if we don't ask for their forgiveness, 300 gonna crush us. And then who we gotta ask for forgiveness? We're gonna have to forgive ourselves first because once they crush us, now it's something totally different. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's the same way with your feelings being able to crush you. Because once your feelings crush you, it's to the point now that you ain't gonna know how to deal with this.
Right.
Like with me, I didn't know how to deal with my emotions because all I knew was, hey man, I'm angry, somebody gotta get it.
Yeah.
And if I don't start forgiving myself like I've learned, there's gonna be somebody that's what? A little bit better.
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
I didn't forgive, and now I'm in this situation.
Yeah. So you gonna learn the lesson one way or the other.
One way or the other, you gonna learn the lesson.
Yeah.
you gonna learn that lesson.
Forgiveness, or you gonna run up against that match you couldn't. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's life.
And it's the same way with life. If you're gonna have to forgive yourself, because one of the things I tell the young people all the time, life will forgive you, but it's a different kind of way it's gonna forgive you than you forgiving yourself and saying, let me learn from that situation.
Yeah.
Because if life teaches you, it may not give you the answer you want. And it may not be as forgiving.
Right.
You can see that when we have kids, dying or those type of things. It ain't forgiving.
And see, that's crazy you even said it, because even with forgiveness, bro, sometimes we forgive people for what they've done. But the hardest thing about about that phase too, I've seen people become the thing that they hated.
The most.
You know what I'm saying? But like if it was your father, he was absent. Now all of a sudden, you were absent. Father. So you didn't use that pain you felt to be better. Because that's why I tell people, even mine, like I think I would tell anybody, my dad I had a good father. I don't think my dad knew how to be a father because his father was running the streets, he was doing X, Y, Z. But what he didn't do, I try to pour that into my children. I try to overly indulge my children with like love. We're going to the park. Let's go get some ice cream. Being very active because that's what I wanted. I don't hold that against him. I'm just like, okay, maybe he didn't know how to give me this. So instead of harboring this hate, let's use this hate to be a blessing to somebody. You know what I'm saying? So I want them hate to be a blessing to my children and them to reap the benefits of this. So therefore, if we can break this chain and they don't have to harbor that same hate and worry about forgiveness and things of that nature.
Exactly.
Man, in the same breath, I think about how you talk about being able to put those good things on you, and you becoming what it is that you feel, right? You becoming what it is you trying not to be. I thought so much about what people would think. You said that mask earlier, right? And so even in forgiveness, like I alluded to, what I've learned more than anything, you got to forgive yourself. But I masked so much of what was really going on and not facing it head on based on what people were thinking or what they would think, what I thought they were thinking. But all of that came from, like I told you, one of the best friends that I lost was because of what I thought manhood looked like. We deal with it when we want to, and if we don't want to deal with it, hey boy, go ahead on.
Exactly.
Right? And so when I had to get past that principle, I learned, okay, you know what? The forgiveness piece is gonna roll. But it leads me to what I think is the most important thing. That forgiveness is for me. Me cutting you off the hook is something that comes with all of this. It comes with the process. It's gonna come eventually. But I first needed to understand and really feel that experience. I needed to really grasp that experience and understand, okay, man, I don't find you guilty no more, but I don't find me guilty either. You know what I mean? Okay, I ain't really a bad dad. You know what? Let me go ahead and step out here a little bit. I'm just telling people what I was dealing with. You know what I'm saying? Excuse my language, but I ain't a piece of shit.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I was just dealing with life like people deal with life. And so when I got to that point, it was like, okay, you know what? And this is really recent. Man, listen, I probably had a conversation about 3 weeks ago. Shout out to Vinny, man. Me and Vinny went to Cookman together. He's out in Hawaii now. And we were having a conversation. I was just like, dog. He was going through some of the same stuff I was going through at the same time. We were partying together. Mm-hmm. We lived in the scholarship house together. We were in the band together. Mm-hmm. It was so much stuff going on, people around me. But because of the mask and what I was wearing, I always say I was suffering in silence. It was somebody right next to me damn near dealing with the same thing. Mm-hmm. But I had to learn to be able to forgive me. Let me go back. I had to learn to be able to forgive the people I thought did something wrong to me. Mm-hmm. Notice what I said, that the people I thought did something wrong to me. Because all they did was aid in preparing me for life's journey. Yep. So all the people I thought did something wrong, I had to forgive those people. Then it let me free myself out and be to a point now. Because if I had that same frame of mind, Nick wouldn't want to be on no podcast with me. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't be doing this together because I'd probably be still the same type of person. Nah, I ain't trying to talk to Nick right now.
And see, that's the thing about it. Like, the wonderful thing about forgiving yourself is you could be yourself. Like, that's the best part. Like, that's what I love about this forgiveness. I get to be me. And so if being me, I know I ain't gonna cause a lot of issues because I'm comfortable now with me. Like, and that forgiveness released that, oh, you gotta be this way. And so when I get to release, I gotta be that way. Now everybody really get to see the real me. Mm-hmm. And it ain't the person that they thought was just all together. Because like you said, man, I have these moments, man, I gotta go and cry. I just have to. And that's a part of the therapy. Like, man, you gotta release. Because if you don't release, we starting this cycle over again. Right. And so I had to learn to release, and that release is sometimes I just go in my bathroom, man, I don't even know it, I cry. Sometimes I talk to myself. And I ain't talking about, people saying, well, you crazy. No, sometimes I talk to myself to encourage myself to say, wait a minute, man, you can do this. Mm-hmm. You got this. And I have to talk in the third person, you, Bobby Frazier. And when I started doing that, I get that confidence. But that came from the release of forgiving a lot of people. And I always clear it up. Most people don't understand that when I was growing up, not only the beatings, that hurt, but I was staying in a house, a 3-bedroom house with 13 adults, man. We all on top of each other. I'm upset because I'm poor. Yeah. I'm upset because I get these whoopings. And I'm upset because everybody else got this and I don't. Mm-hmm. And like I said, all of it translated like, Mom, I'm so mad at my mama. Why don't you just... And at the end of the day, like Nick said, she was just doing the best she could. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know, because the one thing I didn't know, I didn't like being poor. And I gotta just, re-emphasize like that anger, just like, man, I gotta do something. So much so that, man, my senior year of high school, I ran away. Because I hated that. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand, like you said, it was at the wrong person. And once I started letting that go, and feeling like, okay, I really can do this. I can forgive her. Like I said, I didn't start forgiving her until I had this therapy. Because the first thing the therapist said was, do your mama know? And my comeback was, I'm sure she know. My mama never knew I was that mad at her.
Because y'all never talked about it.
We never talked about it.
But then too, you had your expectations on her.
Yeah.
And she could only do what I got. Bobby don't know, hey man, if my check is $500, that's all I got, Bobby. I can't give you no more. But you want your mama to be like somebody else's mama, because you see, hey, his mama got a Benz, why we riding the bus, and you and that's something. And as children, we just don't understand that. And I think even like a lot of, I think, black males, we're in situations because of, again, the hatred we got here, bro. And we ain't let that go. You know what I'm saying? And we out here fighting, because me and Charles, we work with you, but you work with you too, all of us work with you. You see a lot of young men enraged because of, I don't have. I don't have. My daddy wasn't there, man. You just got you got so much hatred, and that's just out here. Hey, I'm going to rob, steal, do whatever I got to do to get this, because that's gonna make me feel good instead of addressing that elephant in the room. And I guess I'm gonna ask both of you brothers this: how important do you think it is for black men to express themselves when they're going through that?
That's too important. It's too important. I tell my homeboys all the time, right? So when it's an issue, I don't even drink. Like, I'm not a drinker. But I always tell them, hey man, if you got an issue that you really can't, come on, I'm buying a drink. Because you need to get this out. Because of what I've been through, I understand, like, dude, if you don't get this out, you got children and you got a wife. One of them gonna catch this. So in order for you to get it right, let's go talk about this. And I ain't even gonna say nothing. I just want you to get it out. And then once you say these magical words, I got it out. All I need to say is, have you forgiven yourself? And a lot of my friends are looking like, what you talking? That's when I got you. Because I need you to understand, look, man, this is a bigger situation that you got going on. So you may need to go to the couch like I am. Because you need to address this. And that's the issue.
I mean, I just want to make sure give me the question one more time and make sure I hit that, all of it, because so much hit me as soon as you said it.
We're kind of looking at, I guess, the importance of black men as it relates to forgiveness and the impact that has on us. And how important do you think that is?
And see, immediately I think about my personal life, right? So I got kids, I got a wife. I immediately think about that. But I think as a whole, when we start talking about forgiveness, how many dads wanted to come back, but they didn't because they didn't know what the feeling would be? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? How many people, like, I don't know, but how many people are right on the break of or right on the break of, man, I'm just saying I'm sorry. But they didn't because they didn't understand the power of forgiveness, nor did they understand how to forgive, right? Mm-hmm. And so when we started, because me and Bobby were having a conversation before we got started, like we started talking about our particular communities. We know that rebuilding the family, right, is going to be essential to building our community. But how are we going to do that if we can't even say, like, you know what, okay, I screwed up. Mm-hmm. I forgive me. You know what I mean? Or, like, in your situation, like if you in a situation that somebody drag you through hell for no reason, and you still got to come and say, you know what, I forgive you. You tried to do that to me, though. Mm-hmm. You tried to say, you tried to drag my name through the mud or whatever and tried to, fight me on this, whatever the case may be. But I forgive you. We can't really get to a serious place of healing. One is not just individually, but two is a community until we understand that. Mm-hmm. So when we start talking about how important forgiveness is for the black man, I mean, it's got to be number one. Mm-hmm. They tell people that been in rehab, tell me the first thing they say is you got to admit you got a problem. Mm-hmm. To me, that sounds like admitting I got a problem. Yep. Man, I screwed up. Yep. I screwed up. Yep.
And that's the only way we're gonna fix these communities, man. Because we look at that, like you said, these young men with all this anger, and I can guarantee you, all of the young men that I talked to, I figured it out. They didn't have a father figure. So a male teacher telling them something, we ain't going for that.
Because you trying to be my dad.
You trying to be my dad.
You authority figure. I'm grown in my house.
Exactly. And so you got to forgive your real father and take something away that Mr. Frazier or Mr. Nick or Mr. Chuck is saying. You got to take some away from that because it's going to help you grow. But they can't forgive their father, and the next closest thing to their father is you. Yeah. And so teaching the youth, hey, y'all, we can have these conversations, man.
But see, even going back in that, though, and me and Charles hit on this all the time, some of this even being raised by a woman, say, for instance. We raise these young men, hey, men don't cry, men don't do this, men don't talk about it. So you grow up to be a man that harbors all his feelings in, all this in, you mad, it just stays in because nobody's ever allowed you to do that. And then what happens is, and this is why I even tell women all the time, now these young men grow up so they can't communicate. They don't want to express their feelings. They're overly masculine. They don't never want to apologize. It's like, so now you mad, he don't talk to me. He ain't never been allowed to talk. Everybody told him he can't cry, he can't share his feelings. Men just tough it out. And when he wants to talk, nobody's there to listen
to him.
Nobody's there to listen. All he ever knows is rage, like I say. Yeah. He never been given that platform. So I challenge even single mothers who are raising boys. Allow these young men to express themselves. Encourage them to express themselves. Because I think by men expressing ourselves, it's actually for the greater good of everybody around, as opposed to us carrying that weight. And like you said, and sometimes as men, the first man we run into may be a male teacher, and that's authority figure. And we bumping heads because, hey, at home, I'm the big dog. Hey, you telling me what to do, but nobody tell me what to do.
Ain't going
that way.
Listen, what's so crazy is both of y'all basically told a story of a homeboy I got. I ain't going to say his name because he may not want to know it, but we were talking, and he was like, my dad wasn't there. I didn't know who my dad was. So when I went to school, these are his words. So when I went to school, coach telling me what to do, man, go ahead on. Anytime a man told him what to do, it was like, well, get out of my face. And he was that kid at school to where he was willing to hook with the teacher, with kids around him, whatever. But watch how his life shifted. God gave him 3 boys. God gave him 3 sons.
Now you gotta, you see what I mean?
God gave him 3 sons. So all of his life, he adored women. He won't let nobody hurt a woman. He respect the ground women walk on. You see what I'm saying? Because of his mother and what she did for his life. But God gave him 3 sons.
Woo.
So I'm saying, so I ain't gonna say that brother's name because he gonna know what I'm saying. We talked about it. But one of the experiences he had early on as a father is that he's an excellent father. He is a provider. Everything a father's supposed to be, protect the provider, he gonna do all of that. But he ran into a roadblock where his oldest son said, "You don't love me because of the way you treat me," because he was disciplining. Mm-hmm. And it broke him because he like, I give my life for these children. And we had a conversation. I said, you know what, bro? He ain't supposed to like you. Because when he get later on in life, he gonna understand the man that you made him. Mm-hmm. And so right now, you see this brother, man, listen, we talking about, people always talk about, young black man ain't being, that's a young black brother. He'll protect it, he'll provider. Him and his kids, mom together. They rocking, they planning life as a family. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is that the way he grew up and saw life, he was dealt the complete opposite. Mm-hmm. And so that goes back to your point of, we got to forgive because we don't know what the next step going to be. Yep. We don't know who we supposed to help. We don't know what our next challenge is going to be. We don't know when that message is going to be for somebody else. We just got to embrace life, take it on the chin, and move forward with it.
That is so powerful. But I got one more because I think it lends to what you were saying. So I was looking at Deion Sanders. Shout out Deion Sanders. He was talking.
Podcast, Prime.
You all say, come on through.
I ain't gonna say, my person I want to meet the most outside of 3 stacks. Deion. So I'm with you.
He was talking at a forum, and he was saying how he was going to his son's football game. He said when he got to his son's football game, his son ran past him and went to the mama. And he was like, he was upset at that. He was like, I'm proud. Hey, I'm your dad. And so he said, instantly, God put in his mind that, wait a minute, Deion, you're going to have to forgive your son for doing that because how long have you been running from me? And that goes to show the expectations, the forgiveness, and the understanding of forgiving yourself. Because you got to think about it. This Deion Sanders.
It's prime time. DC.
His son ran past him to his mother, what he said. And he had to forgive himself first and then understand, wait a minute, you've been running from such and such. And then it goes to that empathy. You got to be empathetic. Hey, man, you've been doing all this running from such and such. I forgave you. So you're going to have to forgive him. And so I said that because it reminded me of just what you were saying. Hey, man, it's sent back to you in expected and unexpected ways.
You're gonna have to deal
we just have to deal with it. Yeah, we have to deal with it. You cannot not deal with it.
Yeah.
So that's my spiel.
No, it's a good spiel, bro. It's a good spiel. But I know man, I had this question for you, bro. Just a quick one. Mm-hmm. How does it feel to go from badass Bobby Frazier to Mr. Frazier?
Oh, you know the funny thing about it, somebody asked me that probably about 3 years ago, and they said it in this term, man, you used to always fight us. And so, as you said, people don't believe I could really do that now. Like I hadn't had a fight in probably for forever. But I was talking to one of my good friends, Kenneth Price, and he was like, you used to be a bully. And I was like, Kenneth, y'all didn't really understand what I was going through. Like I really couldn't tell y'all. And so he ended with this. He said, man, you got a good heart. And when people used to say that, because I never forgave myself, I used to be like, man, no, I can't hear that. Don't. But now, in answering your question, it feels good because a lot of times I could kind of give people to understand that, look, man, I forgave myself. God forgive me. Now I can really be who I really want to be. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it ain't worried about somebody saying, oh, here comes such and such. He might want to fight. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now it gives me the understanding of, ooh, I can go in this room and be relaxed. I ain't got to know, or I ain't got to think, somebody think that if you say something wrong, here I go.
Yeah.
So now it's that which gives me the opportunity to say, yes, people want to be around me. Because that's what the enjoyment is. Now I get people that really want to be around me. And so that's the good part about it. So going from that little kid who always wanted to fight to now people saying, man, I want to be around Frazier. He cool. He this. I get the enjoyment from that. So it's that learning experience that I got from it, but I also get the enjoyment of people wanting to be around me.
Dope, man. Charles, you got anything you want to say as it relates to forgiveness, fatherhood, or anything of that nature, man, that we need to leave people with?
I mean, I think the only story I would share as it relates to forgiveness is I can't imagine the father I would be if I still thought I was messing up. You see what I'm saying? Because one of the things I praise the most about my son, my oldest son, is 8, is he's him no matter what. And I think I would still be like my oldest son. Probably, you know, he don't really have rhythm. You know what I mean? Love my boy to death, but he can't dance. You know what I'm saying? But if you give him some music he want to dance to, he might break dance in the middle of this room. And now because of what I feel free enough to do, I'm compelled not to stop him because I want him to be as much him as he could be.
Exactly.
Right? And I want him to explore life in the greatest capacity. Me and Nick was talking earlier, like it's stuff that they do, like they children. It's stuff that they do that drive me up the wall. But I think in understanding forgiveness and being able to pull my own mask back and being in the space to say, you ain't got to put on all the time. That's what we call it. You ain't got to put on all the time. You know what I mean? I'm okay with, I'm okay with him breakdancing in the middle of the room. I'm okay with him grabbing whatever, throwing it on if we just running down the street, to the quick trip. I used to be like, boy, you got to go in there and put the matching. You know what I mean? Now, do I still care about that? Absolutely. But now I'm able to be, and that may be a small thing, but I'm okay with him just being him. Like, imagine how many parents may be in the store and get upset and the kid just outright singing. You might have a singer, but you tell them to be quiet.
Yep.
See what I'm saying? Stop talking so much. They talk too much. They run. You might have a politician. You might, you don't know what you got. But by being okay with you,
You okay with that?
you okay with that. You're able to accept them, and so I think. You know what I mean? This episode right here was one it was like me and Nick talked about. It was like, man, there's so many ways we can go with this. But for me, it did, like I said, it went in depth with me because in order for me to be who I am and start going where I'm going now, I had to deal with this head on. And so that was a personal thing for me. But,
What you got, bro?
I just want to, for me, talking to the people that are kind of listening and looking at it, just understand, man, forgiving yourself is the most important thing. If you're able to forgive yourself, you're able to live with yourself. And if you're able to live with yourself, you can give the world all of you without, like he said, putting on. And that's what your mission in this life is, to give the world all of you, uncut, unadulterated. So.
I think, I don't know, man, just leaving in closing, I know you brothers said about forgiveness. I had to learn, for me, I guess in closing, forgiveness, I battled with it. Because my father, things I felt like I didn't get. And so when I had my daughters, I was so hell-bent on, I gotta be a good father every day. Like every minute, I gotta be perfect. I gotta do this, I gotta do this way, that way. And I had to learn how, even when Charles is touching them, I had to learn how to just relax, bro. Relax and just let it go. You're gonna be a good father. You for one, you're present and you wanna be here.
Exactly, yep.
Cause I was beating myself up, bro, like, I gotta be a good daddy. I gotta stay on top of them. I was on my kids about every little thing almost, to the point where I'm like, damn, I'm nitpicking my damn self.
Exactly, yeah.
But I just wanted to be something. I was chasing this. And then one day, bro, I woke up with like, Nick, you got this. You talk to me, even talk to yourself. I think I talk to myself too and say, because you have to motivate yourself and encourage yourself, man. Because I know even us as fathers, we were talking about it. We don't always get that encouragement. So sometimes you tell yourself, hey, I'm doing a good job. I'm doing this, because you're looking for that. But I had to forgive myself and just forgive things from my past to be a better father today to my daughter. But I thank God again for everything I went through, because as we all have stated, that's it shaped us and brought us back here, man, to be at this place and be at this platform where we can help inspire other brothers. And so, with that being said, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for everything. Thank you for following us. Please go back and check out episodes 1 through 4. And again, thank you. And just forgive somebody, man. Forgive somebody.
Peace.
I'm Nick Clark. This is the Firms Podcast.